Hey, it is Paul, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Parabox Monthly. Now, right off the bat, first and foremost, I want to let you know, Parabox has updated their website. It is now www.paraboxmonthly.com. That's it. From this point forward, paraboxmonthly.com is going to take you to Parabox, where you, for just $19.95 a month, can get your first box. Now, your box is going to include an awesome, high-quality, soft-style t-shirt with a badass design. Something that you'll actually want to wear. I promise you, these shirts are rad. It's also going to enter you into an online scavenger hunt. Now, I've seen how these work, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's awesome. I mean, you're going to have to be on full Sherlock Holmes mode. You're going to have to check everything in the box, try to find clues on cards, on the shirt. Then it'll take you to websites with pictures that have hidden links and hidden pictures in the picture. Parabox does it right. It's a ton of fun, and if you can find the way to the end of that scavenger hunt, you're entered to win free gear, and you can't beat that. It's paraboxmonthly.com, and you can use promo code GoosePimples, all one word, GoosePimples at checkout, and save 10% off your first box. Parabox. It's like an escape room you wear. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Halloween. Eric, Halloween is coming, and it's also the most wonderful time of the week because...
Why?
This is Goose Pimples. Oh. It's our audio, internet, radio program where I, Paul Breeden, am joined weekly by my cousin...
Eric Arterbridge.
To delve into the creepy and skin-crawling stories that keep us all up at night. Eric.
Hi, Paul.
Eric, we had issues at the end of our last episode.
You had issues.
I had issues
at the end of our last episode.
It ruined things for everyone.
Wait, just to be clear, are you sure that you have it set up properly this time?
Yes, I do. We're going to be fine this time, Eric.
I
double-checked. I triple-checked.
Oh, thank you.
I triple-checked. So the only thing that really got cut off at the end of the last episode was a little bit of the final story I was telling, and then us just kind of talking about our views on the whole reincarnation thing.
Oh, yeah.
I had said that I think that this may be, I still don't believe that I'm a religious person, but I think this is the closest thing to religious belief that I can accept. And just because there's evidence for it. There's a lot of it. There's thousands of people, thousands of documented files of people who remember this stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole TV show about kids who remember their past lives.
Is it really?
Yeah, I watched a few episodes several years ago, but I don't remember what it was called, and I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I think that even people who don't necessarily remember facts from previous lives, I think that there's still a little bit of that kind of in all. Like, for instance, our cousin Stevie, since he was a baby, you could hand him any instrument, and he could just play music on it. And I think, maybe that's something that carries over subconsciously from previous lives.
Probably. I think so.
There's tons of kids that just, can do stuff that other people take years and years and years of practice to do, and maybe that has something to do with it.
I think so. That's where idiot savants come from, I think.
There you go. And just idiots.
That's right.
Reincarnation, we might touch back on it. 'Cause like I said, there's a ton of awesome stories that I couldn't really put in the episode just because of time restraints. But that's not what we're talking about today, Eric. We're talking about something else today.
Oh, well, Paul, listen, before we get into something else, I have to update you on the strange things happening in my apartment since we started this podcast.
You have a bit of a Dear David situation happening on your own hands here, don't you?
There's something going on that I've been trying to rationalize it in my head and try to figure out what else it could be. But so last week I told you about the weird dream I had, which you said is probably just my overactive imagination, which I agree it probably is, since we're talking about spooky stuff every week.
Right, we're thinking about these kinds of things on a much more regular basis than we used to.
Right, and so I had a dream that I was asleep in my bed, and in the dream sleeping, I woke up because my dog was scared of something and was trying to cower behind my head. And I looked at him like, what's wrong with you? Then all of a sudden, I felt something sit on the bottom of my bed. So I kicked my feet and it disappeared. And then I woke up in real life and obviously everything was fine. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Weird dream. But I didn't put much thought into it. Fast forward to the following week, which is this past week. What?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, so this past week, I was asleep in my bed with my dog, Thurston. And I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, and
the devil's hour.
That's right. Immediately upon waking up, I heard somebody whisper something, but I was still half asleep, and I don't know what they said. I just remember it was like a person whispering. And as soon as that happened, my eyes, like, popped right open, and I was like, oh crap, what's that? But then immediately, Thurston, my dog, started barking at the corner of the room. And
so it's almost like the whisper happened in your dream, right?
No.
But that's what woke you. Well, I guess maybe not. You don't know, right? It's just like the whisper happened, and that's when it went from dream to reality. But
no,
the dream and the reality were so similar.
Yeah, it was similar, but the whisper, whatever that noise was real life. It wasn't in a dream. I was awake for it. And so I thought to myself, maybe that whispering sound that I heard was the heater hissing or something.
Right.
But I don't have a heater that hisses. It's like, in my old apartments I had radiators that would make noises like clang and clack and hiss.
You haven't had any issues with anything like that in this new apartment?
Right. Nothing. And it's like, to me, I was like half asleep, but it was a noise that was actually in my room, not in my dream. And it was, as far as I recall, a person saying something. And then immediately, Thurston started barking at the corner.
It's freakier that I think anytime something like that happens where the dream is so similar to what's actually happening in real life that when you kind of wake up from it, it's hard to tell what was on what side of reality. But the sound thing is really crazy. And I've experienced things similar to this where, you're having a dream and something happens in the dream that would cause a loud noise, like something falls in the dream or something explodes in the dream.
Yeah.
And then a sound from real life wakes you up at the exact moment that object would have made that sound.
Yeah, that's happened to me a lot of times.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
So that's another weird thing. I mean, is that almost like, I don't know, like a semi-psychic premonition going on while we're dreaming?
It could be.
Dreams are weird, Eric. I think we need to dig deeper into dreams because I think there's a lot of goose pimply situations that stem from dreaming.
That's true. I've had a lot of like psychic premonition dreams throughout my life. And so I suspect that, I don't know. I feel like the dream I had last week might have been a sign of things to come, but who knows?
Well, it's weird to have 2 in a row. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row that you've had one of these, like, just odd dreams to talk about.
Well, the second one is not a dream. I got to get that through to you, Paul.
Well, right, I know, but like
it was real life.
But it started as a dream.
There was no dream in the second one. The second one, I was sound asleep, wasn't having a dream. I woke up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I hear a baby. I smell children.
Quiet, please. Quiet on the set. Okay, I'll have to edit that one out.
We're not. Yeah, so the second one, there was no dream. I was sound asleep. I distinctly woke up. But as soon as I woke up, I heard in my room a voice whisper something. I don't know what it was.
Okay. This is much scarier than what I thought. I thought when you first explained this to me off podcast
via text,
I thought that you were saying again you were dreaming that you were laying in bed with Thurston, as you were, and you were kind of startled from that dream into reality by this whisper, and then Thurston's barking at the wall.
No, so
it's much creepier if all that happened in real life and not in the dream world.
Right, it was real life. So the thing that's also weird about this is, so I woke up, I heard a whisper. Immediately, Thurston is barking at the corner of the room, and that scared me too. I popped up and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" But he was already standing at the foot of the bed. Normally when I wake up, he's just laying next to me asleep. Yeah,
something was up, and Thurston knew it.
Right, there was something going on that got Thurston's attention to make him walk toward the bottom of the bed and stand there looking at the corner of the room, and then started barking at whatever made this noise.
You're gonna have to keep a dream journal, Eric. You're gonna have to keep a notebook next to your bed, and when this stuff happens, just make note of it, because
that's what my mom said.
It seems like a developing situation.
I hope not, honestly.
I hope not, for your sake.
I'd prefer
and
to
sure
just...
there wasn't a roommate in your room again, right?
Again. No, that doesn't normally happen. There was nobody in here but Thurston and me, and potentially somebody I could not see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thurston saw it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
creepy.
It is creepy. It's let's do this, Eric. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. This is actually, I've had several people request that we do an episode on this subject, and I'm finally getting around to do it. We don't get a lot of requests yet, but this is one that's been brought up a couple times. I want to start, Eric. Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, or a role-playing game?
No.
Okay, well, I want to start with let's call it an acting exercise then.
Oh,
okay? I'm going to describe a scene. I'm going to describe a scenario, and you, I don't know. You tell me what you would do in these situations. You're a bit of a thespian. I've seen you on the TV before. What was that show you got the extra role in?
There were actually two of them. One was Law & Order SVU.
That's a big show. That's a big credit.
It is, but you couldn't see me. And then the other one is Kashmir Mafia, which was not a big show, and you can see me very well. But I don't think it lasted even a full season. I don't think it even lasted a full season.
My cousin was on that show, and I've never even heard of it.
That's right.
Okay, Eric, listen. I know it's not Halloween yet. All right.
Not yet, almost.
But it's close, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely not Christmas.
It's a week away.
It's definitely not Christmas, but let's get into the kind-hearted giving spirit for a moment, just for the sake of this scenario. Okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay, let's say you and Thurston are in bed making Christmas cookies.
Oh.
And it's late, Eric. It's really late.
We're in bed making Christmas cookies?
Oh, listen. It's a bit of an improv class, too, isn't it?
Okay, great.
All right, so it's late. Let's say it's 12:30 a.m.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, you hear a very faint knocking at the door.
No.
Not I want to get this clear. It's not like a hey, someone's at the door and I want to let you know that someone's here knock. It's just did you just hear something at the door? Kind of knock.
Oh no, I don't like this.
It's so faint actually that you barely hear it. You can't hear it over Thurston humming the Christmas carols.
He's a beautiful hummer.
But there's you definitely heard something.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you have a doorbell at your house?
Kind of.
Okay. Well, let's pretend for this story that you do. And let's also pretend, just to make it work a little better, let's pretend that you don't live in Brooklyn and that it's typically safe to answer your door at any time, let alone at 12:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And let's pretend that it's snowing outside. Okay, it's been
God.
freezing all week.
Oh, this is dreadful.
And when you look at your peephole, you see two small children standing at your door.
Oh, no.
They seem to be in the 8 to 10 year range. Now, it's weird that you got a knock on your door at all. It's weirder that you have a doorbell in this scenario and they didn't choose to use it. What do you do in this situation, Eric?
I call 911.
Immediately. You see two kids standing out in the freezing cold and your first thought is to call 911.
Yeah, because they're clearly demons or something.
Well, hold on. Let's pretend that you're not being told this situation on a podcast about demons and spirits of the lake, and that this is just real life.
No, this is a setup, okay? So let's pretend they're not demons. There is some kind of psychopath waiting on the side for me to open the door so they can burst in and kill me and take Thurston.
Oh, this is all a sting to get Thurston.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So I would probably yell through the door, "What do you want? while I'm dialing 911 to get some backup.
Okay, well, let's say that after you do that, the kids say, "Can we come in?"
No, where are your parents? Why are you here? What do you want from me?
They say, "Our parents will be here soon."
Oh, hell no. They're not coming in. That doesn't make any sense. There's a psychopath on the side waiting to bust in the door.
Okay. Eric, now let's say that you aren't thinking along those lines and that you do have a heart and you see these two freezing children standing at your door and you open it, right?
No, don't do it.
Okay. Let's say that you open the door and the kids, it's weird because the whole time this has been going on, the kids are just kind of staring down at their feet.
Oh, no.
And one more time they say, "Can we come in? Our parents will be here soon." And they look up at you, and their eyes are completely black.
Oh, God.
There's no whites. There's no iris. It's just black.
I met a horse like that.
Right? How'd the horse make you feel?
Very calm and serene. He didn't have any eyes at all. They were just empty sockets. But
Whoa.
He was very sweet.
What? Hold on a second. This isn't where I thought this was going.
What do you mean?
Well, horses typically have like big black eyes. You're saying this horse was just dry sockets?
Yeah, don't you follow me on Instagram? I tweeted about him on Instagram.
Yeah, I follow you on Instagram.
Okay, well, you can check it out later.
Well,
you can follow me too, Farterbridge
on Instagram. So these kids, they have eyeballs. It's not just a black empty socket. There's balls. There's balls in their eyes.
Black balls? That's creepy. I don't know if I like the idea of children with all black eyes looking up at me.
So these children, Eric, they are called the black-eyed children.
Oh.
And actually, no, they're believed to be more along the lines of extraterrestrial. That's the theory behind these kids. I guess it's believed to have started as an urban legend, but it's gained more and more popularity as years have gone on. So, the black-eyed children, what are they, Eric? They are young people, often children, with eyes that are solid black.
Ooh.
There's no differentiation between pupil or iris or the whites of the eyes, and they're occasionally reported to have bluish or blue tinted skin.
Oh, no.
Like that of a very cold person or a corpse.
That's called cyanosis.
Is it really?
Yeah, when you start to turn blue due to lack of oxygen, cyanosis.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, brainiac. So those who report encounters with these children often feel that the children are somehow supernatural and extremely dangerous, though they cannot explain why. There are many theories on these children, and people believe that they may be some sort of extraterrestrial attempting to make contact with humans. Perhaps through studying us, they've noticed our strong connection to endangered children. And it's also believed that these children are very dangerous to be around. Not dangerous in that they attack you, but that their actual presence may cause physical harm.
Oh, no.
Almost like radiation exposure.
Oh, no.
And it's also believed that they are always seeking one thing. The same thing. They just want to be invited in. Whether it be a car or a house or a workplace, they're always looking for an invitation inside.
That sounds like a vampire to me.
Yeah, what was that? What movie was that where they had to be invited in?
That's just
It's a common thing.
Yeah,
right?
a general vampire rule.
Was that how it was in Twilight?
I don't think so. I don't remember, but it was like that on True Blood. Soki, invite me in.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
I rescind my invitation.
So, Eric, for this episode of Goose Pimples, I just want to share a couple stories that I found on these black-eyed children.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Are you in for it? You along for the ride?
I am. I'm intrigued.
Well, so if there were aliens, right, who wanted to infiltrate the human race, right, this would be a good way to do it. Because, despite your initial reaction from the scenario that I set forth, which was kind of, it's not really fair because you knew the circumstances of the pot. You know why we're talking right now. You knew something was up.
Yeah, but either way.
But most people, most people, if they see endangered children, their first instinct is to help them, right?
To help them, yeah. But if you're standing on a porch asking to come into my house, you're okay.
You don't want to help them that much?
You can hang out on the porch until the police show up.
Okay, well, first and foremost, let's talk about Brian Bethel.
Who's that?
Brian Bethel is a journalist from Texas, and he's believed to be the first person to make a claim of a black-eyed children encounter online. Which, I mean, that's where a lot of these encounters are...
reported?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big online thing.
So are you saying that this is the first known case of a black-eyed child, or just the first one online?
Well, this is the first, and it's due to timing, because this incident happened in 1996.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean, this is right when the internet was getting to the point where you could kind of share things, where forums were coming up on Supernatural. And
oh, yeah.
So in 1996, it was a warm night in, I've never heard of this place, Alabama, Texas. Eric, familiar?
No, I don't know it. I just know...
it may be.
I know Shamrock, Texas, and Amarillo.
Those are the only cities in Texas that you know?
They're about the only ones I've been to.
Okay. I've never been to Texas. But it's not about me. It's about Brian Bethel.
Okay.
And Brian was sitting in his car in a parking lot outside of a local movie theater. He was filling out a check that he had planned to later drop off at the drop box of his local internet provider to pay his bill. As he scribbled away on the check, he heard a knock on the window of his car.
Knock, knock, knock.
When he looked up, Eric, he saw what he described to be two boys around the ages of 9 and 12 wearing hoodies. He described them as he described one of them as being somewhat suave, olive-skinned, and curly-headed.
Oh.
And the other one was a red-headed, pale, freckled boy.
Okay, so they're trying to appeal to a broad market.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Broad market. Diversity
Yep.
is key.
That's right.
So, Brian, what do you think he did?
Hit the gas and got the hell out of there?
No. Like most people, he wanted to help these children. So, Brian cracked the window of his car just enough to speak through it.
Okay, that's smart. I'll give him that. But,
not knowing why, he immediately picked up a strange vibe from these kids. Now, these are young kids. This isn't like, if you're in a movie theater and a bunch of teenagers come up to you, first thing is like weird vibe. Like, what are these kids up to?
Yeah.
We're talking 9 to 12. Like, my daughter's 8, so a couple years older than Taylor. At that age, they're not really, they don't give off strange vibes.
Yes,
but
they
he was
do.
Getting a strange vibe. So one of the boys explained that they had come to the movies to watch the premiere of Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Great movie. But they forgot their money at their mom's house.
Oh, I see what their angle is.
And they wanted to know if Brian could give them a ride back to grab their cash.
Oh, no. Here's $10. Go have a good time.
So even with seemingly very little to be worried about, Brian was overcome with fear. He says that the boys tried to assure him that they really just needed a ride. They even pointed out that they didn't have a gun or anything. He made note of that.
That's weird, too.
He says that the boys' voices somehow didn't sound as young as they looked, and that the longer he kind of hesitated, the more aggressive they got with their request. And they started saying, just let us in. We'll be gone before you know it. We'll go to our mom's house and get the money, and then we'll be gone. Just let us in. Brian said that he subconsciously reached to open the car door to let the boys in when he happened to notice something was off.
Uh-oh, the eyes.
For the first time in this meeting, he made eye contact with one of the boys. And you guessed it, the eyes were completely black.
Oh, God.
Brian described them as the following, quote, "They're the sort of eyes one sees on aliens or bargain basement vampires on late night TV. They were like soulless orbs, like two great swaths of starless night." He's a bit of a wordsmith, Brian is.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
But you get the idea. Trying to remain composed in the situation and not show that he was actually freaking the hell out, Brian made up a few excuses as why he couldn't give the boys a ride, put the car in gear, and sped away with the boys still standing next to the window.
That's my boy.
He says that as he peeled away, he peeked in the rearview mirror to keep an eye on the kids, and they were gone. There were no kids.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they were gone. So that was, it's not as scary as some of these other ones we're going to get to, but that was the first recognized encounter with black-eyed children that ever made it onto the web. And it's tough to say before that, because before that, unless there was a news story on it, and even if there was a news story, it's hard to kind of track that stuff.
Right.
With the internet, nothing dies on the internet. Nothing ever goes away.
Oh, yeah.
So these are here to be Google searched and tracked and spread around.
Just like an STD.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always Google searching STDs.
And then spread around. That's right.
So the next story is a little creepier. This one takes place at a gas station. In November of 2012, at a gas station in Louisiana, an attendant had quite a disturbing encounter. Around 3 a.m., the gas station lost all power. Now, this is another common thing with these kids. I guess they put off some kind of, some kind of energy field that seems to shut down power.
Oh, no.
So using only the light of his cell phone, the attendant fumbled around and was able to find the backup generators. He finally got them running, and although the light they provided was dim and unstable, it was there.
Yeah, better than no lighting.
Right. But the problem is it also only lit certain areas of the store. It only lit the important parts, or what the people who installed these lights thought were the important parts of the store. It lit up the pumps out front, the cash register area, and then the main entrance to the store.
Oh, okay.
Outside, this is pretty late at night, so not a lot's going on. And now that the power's out, there's not much to do. So he's just kind of standing around looking out the door, and he notices that just outside the reach of the light, there's something moving.
Uh-oh.
There's... Time out.
It's your dog.
He noticed that something was moving. Something was coming towards the store. And as it got close enough for the light to make out, he could tell that the shapes were actually 3 kids on bikes.
Oh, no.
Remember how I said that it was late?
Yeah. Sure.
Guess what time it is, Eric, when this happens?
12:30?
Nope, it was 3 a.m.
Oh, no.
The devil's hour.
Oh, no.
So he watched from the counter of the store as they rode into the parking lot. They slowed down and they stepped off their pedals and slowly walked up to the front door. And then they just stood there with their bikes between their legs, holding the handlebars. They just stared at him.
I don't like this one bit.
He was immediately overcome with fear.
Yeah.
Unreasonable fear. These were young children.
No, this sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I guess it depends on where your state of mind is at the time, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
And in a dark gas station with no power, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of reasonable fear.
And then they just ride up slowly and stare at you. I mean, that's freaky.
Yeah. So the attendant walks over to the front door. He cracks it open just a bit and says, "Are you kids okay?"
"What do you want? Scram!"
One of the kids, a young girl, replies, "Is there any way we could use your telephone?" Still feeling overwhelmed with fear from the situation, he agreed. He says, "The power's out, but you can use my cell phone." As he reaches out to hand the cell phone to the girl, she looks up at him.
Oh, no.
And he froze. He says that he felt what felt like a freshly opened bottle of soda as the Goose Pimples felt like fizzy bubbles running from his feet all the way up to the back of his throat. The girl's eyes were completely black.
Ugh.
As he hands her the cell phone, she says, "No, that won't do. I need the real one."
Oh, no.
Again, he says that the voice did not match her body. But she pointed through the front door at a landline telephone that was sitting on the counter near the register. He pulled his arm, holding the cell phone, into the store, slammed it shut, locked it, and yelled through the glass, "You all get out of here. It's time you went home."
Scram! I know that's right.
The other two children looked up, and for a moment, all three stood staring at him with their big, black, empty eyes before slowly backing up and taking off on their bikes into the darkness from which they came.
Oh, no.
The next morning, the attendant immediately checked the surveillance footage to see if he had captured the crazy children. Unfortunately, guess what the installers felt were not important enough for backup generator power.
Oh, how likely of a story, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, right? I mean, I don't know. I think that when you're doing a show like we're doing, you have to kind of just roll with the punches, you know, because there's a lot of it that is unlikely. It's unlikely by nature. So sometimes you just have to kind of see what you think.
That's true, but I like to have a healthy dose of skepticism too.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up like one of these nuts running around.
That's right.
Trying to tell
Conspiracy
everybody the world's
theories.
coming to
Yeah.
all right, I have one more. And this is it's become the most popular story about the black-eyed children.
Uh-oh.
So this story, there's a website, and I've actually used it before doing this story when I was looking up other stories. And the website it's a cool site if you want to check it out. It's www.weekinweird.com. And this website had done a couple stories on these black-eyed children, you know, basically retelling stories that had been told on the internet.
Yeah.
The Brian Bethel story, etc. Well, somebody found these stories when they Googled the black-eyed children. And the person that found these stories was looking for a place to share her experience. This story is about a lady in Vermont. This woman and her husband, they lived in a small rural town shortly outside of Vermont. And she says that it was a very tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone and nobody locks their doors at night because it's safe, you know? So at the time of writing this, she says that a little over a year ago, during a pretty bad snowstorm, her and her husband heard a bang at their front door. It was around 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, no.
She said that they live in a small home off a dirt road that connects to the main route into their town, and that sometimes during snowstorms, the roads and the hills nearby become very slippery. So when she heard the bang, she assumed that maybe there'd been an accident or someone had broken down. And apparently this kind of thing happened a lot.
Uh-oh.
So she looked outside and noticed that her motion spotlight was on, and that she could see footprints coming down the driveway in the snow. But she didn't see a car anywhere. She said that the front door was slightly obscured from the window, so she could see that someone was standing at the front door, but she couldn't make out enough to see who it was. She decided to wake up her husband to be on the safe side, and Eric, he answered the door while she stood and watched from the hallway.
Uh-oh.
Do you have any guesses as to who might be at the door?
The pizza delivery man.
Nope, you're wrong. When her husband opened the door, he was greeted by two children, one boy, one girl, both looking down at their feet. And she says that they could not have been much more than 8 years old. They were dressed strangely. She said that the girl had very long, straight hair, and the boy had a bowl cut. And they didn't seem to be properly dressed for the weather conditions. Their first thought was that they were a couple of local Mennonite kids.
Okay.
I guess based off the bowl cut hair.
Okay, that makes sense.
But they also said that they didn't know of a Mennonite community in the area. So, you know, she says that typically in this situation, her first instinct would be to rush the kids out of the cold, bundle them up with some blankets, fix them some hot chocolate, and try and figure out what is going on. Not in this instance. That was not her first reaction.
I agree. I don't blame her.
She found these children unnerving. She said that she thought it was odd that they wouldn't make eye contact with her or her husband, and the whole time they talked, they just stared down at their feet. Her husband asked them if everything was okay. And they simply replied, "Can we come in?"
Oh, no. Don't do it.
So the woman from the hallway then says, "Where are your parents?" To which they respond,
They'll be here soon.
"They'll be here soon."
Oh, no.
So again, it was around 2 a.m. at this time, and she thought that there must be some sort of accident and that the kids were just shaken up or something because they were acting batshit crazy. And even though her gut kept telling her not to do it, her heart wouldn't let her just leave the kids out in the cold. Eric, she invited them in.
No.
She invited them in, and they made themselves comfortable. They went to the living room with her husband. She headed into the kitchen to make them some hot chocolate. From the kitchen, she could hear her husband trying to make small talk with the kids and figure out what was going on. He asked them if they were okay. He asked them where they came from, if their parents' car was broken down somewhere. But no matter what he asked, they just kept saying, "Our parents will be here soon."
Oh, no.
She said that they always talked in strange, like, sing-songy voices. So I guess it would have been more like, "Our parents will be here soon. Our parents will be here soon."
I don't like that.
And she said that they didn't at all seem uncomfortable or scared that they were in a complete stranger's home. It was like it was the normal. So around this time, she noticed that her cats were also acting very strange.
Uh-oh.
She says that they had 4 cats, and all of them were hiding except for one, Pigeon. Pigeon was in the kitchen with her. She said that her cats are normally very friendly and very curious and love to go outside, so much so that anytime anyone opens the front door, they bolt towards it and try and get out. Not this time. She said that not even one had come to investigate what was going on when the door had been opened.
Oh, no.
She noticed that all the hair on Pigeon's neck was standing up on end, and that his tail was puffed out and standing straight up. And he was staring intently into the living room.
Yeah, you have to look to the animals because they're the ones who know if somebody's evil or not.
Yeah, well, this one apparently did. And I guess it wasn't too happy that she let him in because she says that when she reached down to try to check on him, he hissed at her and slowly backed away until he was hidden in the shadow of the kitchen table.
Oh, my God.
She said that when she headed back to the living room to bring everyone their cocoa, she noticed something strange. Her husband was sitting with his head in his hands. She asked him what was wrong, and he told her that all of a sudden he was feeling dizzy, but he thought he was fine. She then looked back at the kids and went to hand them the drinks. As they reached to grab the drinks, they looked up at her for the first time.
Oh, no.
Eric, she said that the panic that raced through her was undescribable and that it took everything in her not to drop the mugs of hot chocolate on the floor and go running. Their eye sockets were completely black. There was no whites. There was no iris. It was like there were just giant black pupils filling their entire eye sockets.
Oh, no.
When the children noticed that she was visibly shaken up, they both stood up together and asked if they could use the bathroom. And she said yes. She said, "Please, get away from me."
Get out!
Yeah. No, so they headed to the bathroom, and when they're in the bathroom, her and her husband started talking about what the hell's going on, and she asked if he had seen their crazy eyes. He said that he had seen the eyes, but he didn't think much of it because his brother, I guess, had been in a bad car accident a while back, and he said that he had bruised one of his eyes, and it was kind of like that, only the kids were much worse.
Oh.
So as they're talking about the situation and the kids are using the bathroom, all of a sudden her husband gets a nosebleed.
Uh-oh.
She said it was the first time she had ever seen him get a nosebleed in all the time she had known him.
Yeah, he's having a stroke.
She was sure this had something to do with the children, but not knowing what to do, she started crying and then just headed off to get her husband a tissue. On her way to get the tissue, guess what happened, Eric?
She had a stroke.
No, the power went out.
Oh, no.
The entire house went black. She heard her husband call for her. He must have been terrified. And she went running back into the living room. As she ran into the living room, she looked to her side, down the hallway, and stopped dead in her tracks.
What happened?
The two kids were standing at the far end of the hallway in the darkness, like The Shining style, just staring back at them. They weren't moving. They weren't talking. They were just standing perfectly still and silent.
What do they want?
She said this stare off, this stare down lasted what she felt like was forever. And then one of the boy finally spoke up, and he said, "Our parents are here."
No.
And then they simply walked to the front door, opened it, and left.
Oh, thank God.
Leaving the front door wide open. Her husband ran so fast to close the door that he almost fell over. They locked it and then looked out the window to see what was going on.
And they're gone.
Well, their parents were there.
What?
But I don't know that it was necessarily the same type of parents that one would be expecting to pick up children. They said that the parents were two tall, skinny men standing by an idling black car at the end of the driveway. They were both simply wearing black suits. Thinking that the men had noticed them in the window, her husband waved. The men just stared back at them blankly until the children got into the car. Then they closed the door and drove off.
Oh my God, it's the Men in Black.
Yeah, right? Well, it ties back into the extraterrestrial thing. She says that about an hour later, their power came back on, but things changed after that night.
Uh-oh.
This is where it gets a little creepier, Eric.
What happened?
If it wasn't creepy enough already. So over the next few weeks, their cats started disappearing one by one.
That's terrible.
They assumed that it was just like a streak of bad luck. Like, we have these crazy kids here, and then the cats keep slipping out of the door and running away, and we're just not noticing it. But then one day they came home and found the last remaining cat, Pigeon, dead in the middle of their living room floor. Eric, he was in a pool of his own blood and vomit.
Oh.
They took him to the vet, and the vet said that it stemmed from mysterious hemorrhage.
Oh, that's sad.
Her husband's nosebleeds continued as well.
Uh-oh.
And they also became more frequent. When he went to the doctor didn't know what to make of it. And he said that it was probably due to dry nasal passages. A few weeks later, he was diagnosed with an aggressive skin cancer. And the doctor asked them if he used tanning beds a lot. He said that the cancer he had was commonly connected specifically to the overuse of indoor tanning beds. Her husband had never used a tanning bed. He works indoors, and he spends very little time in the sun.
It's the kids, obviously.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, the doctors think he will recover, but they're baffled at how the cancer got so bad so quickly. The woman says that she's also suffered from regular dizzy spells and nosebleeds since the children visited them.
Oh, no.
As well as other issues, personal issues, that she doesn't care to share. But she says that out of nowhere, she's suddenly in the worst health condition of her entire life, and that no doctors can seem to figure out why or do anything about it.
Oh, no.
Any friends that they tell about the kids coming that night tend to just laugh it off and say they're making something out of nothing, and they make fun of them for being so scared of a couple of Mennonite kids. Eric, I don't think they were a couple of Mennonite kids.
I don't think so either.
I think that they were visited by the black-eyed children. And
now
they're under paranormal investigation by some sort of alien race.
Yeah, I used to know some wonderful Mennonite people who worked at the country store by my mom's house. And
yeah, me too. They had all their eyes.
Yeah,
like every part of it.
Yeah, they were very sweet people. They had lots of great baked goods, and
irises.
They didn't cause cancer.
No. Well, who knows what was in those baked goods, but
I don't know. But that's freaky. I don't like this. I hope I never come across one of them. But so here's my question. So let's say that they are aliens or whatever, and they're coming to observe. Like, they don't care that they're causing people cancer and making their pets die?
I don't know.
I don't really understand what their purpose is. Like, why?
Well, I don't know what their purpose is either, Eric.
What are they getting out of this?
Maybe it's just some sort of investigation. Maybe they're trying to just see what goes on. Or, you know what, maybe they're marking these people. Maybe they're the whatever radiation or rays or whatever it is that's putting people in hospitals with skin cancer, maybe that's some kind of like signal to come visit these people. These people
That's
have been
sick.
marked.
That's
Because, you know,
sick.
they do say that the people who have been abducted by aliens tend to have more than one visitation. And people think that's what the implants are, you know, almost like like when we pull fish out of the water and then we mark them. We put the little tags on their fins so we know that they've been checked out. Where do you think those fish go and tell their other fish friends?
I don't know, but it's all sick.
Even the fish part?
Yeah.
I don't know, Eric. I don't know what the black-eyed children want. That's one of the faults of this podcast, I think, is that a lot of these stories there's really no answers to. It's just creepy shit that happened that no one can explain. Once you explain it, it kind of loses its creepiness. So we're just going to have to deal with this. We're going to have to deal with being left wanting more.
Well, I hope that they never come to visit me because I'm not interested in talking to them or letting them into my house or killing my dog or giving me cancer.
Eric, maybe they already have.
Oh, no. Don't say that.
Maybe Thurston's already met with one while you were sleeping.
No.
Maybe the whisper that you heard was, sleep tight.
Oh,
as
God.
As they were leaving.
Our parents are here. Okay, bye.
Eric, what color are Thurston's eyes?
They're black.
All black?
All black.
All right, well, listen, if the black-eyed children or Thurston barking at the corner gave you goose pimples, just do us a favor and tell a friend. It's actually huge. Like, if you share our Facebook page or you share one of our Instagram posts, that's awesome for us. It's the only way we're going to get to spread this and make it a bigger podcast. And then we figure the more people we get, the more interesting it'll be, because then people will be submitting their own stories for us to tell and suggesting topics. But I do want to say, Eric, I think that if the people listening are going to take time out of their day to share our podcast with their friends, I think the least we could do is acknowledge it. So I propose that every week we pick one person who shared goose pimples on some sort of social media and give them a special thanks on air. What do you think of that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
You like that? Okay, well, this week I would like to thank our friend Harvey. He shared our Facebook page on his Facebook, and if you want to check him out on Instagram, it is Harvey Stinkle. Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks, Harvey.
Again, we also want to share your stories. If you have anything creepy you want to share with us, or you have a subject you'd like us to talk about, you can send it to us at goosepimplespodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to get with us on Twitter, we're at goosepimplescast, or you can use the hashtag pimplecast.
Yeah, we really want to hear your stories. They're very interesting to us, so send us your stories. We know that you have them.
Here's the thing. I don't know if maybe it's been kind of misleading us asking for the stories and not kind of tell. We don't want to do full episodes on you, so there's not that pressure. We just want to, if it's a short, creepy incident that you had, or a short story about something weird happening, we just want to throw it in at the beginning or the end of the podcast and give you credit for it. Or not. If you want to be anonymous, you can be anonymous. That's fine too.
That's right.
We also want to tell you to check out our friends at Parabox Monthly. Now listen, Parabox, they've upgraded. They got a new URL, and there's no dash in it, and they are happy to bring to you www.paraboxmonthly.com, and you can go over there to get started on your paranormal mystery adventure using the promo code GoosePimples. That's all one word. GoosePimples will save you 10% off your first box. There are no contracts, and you can cancel anytime. Eric, have you seen these shirts? Have you gone to you've checked them out, right? These shirts
of course. They're cool.
They're very cool. I actually I'm getting my box next month, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's it. That's all I have. Eric, you?
Yeah, that's it for me. Tune in again next week to see if there are any more creepy things happening in my apartment.
We're going to stay posted on that. If anything happens, I'll keep you guys up to date on Instagram too with that stuff.
Thank you.
Our Instagram, it's Goose Pimples Podcast. Easy to remember.
So
guys,
easy.
Thank you for everything so far. we've been amazed with the support that we've gotten so far, only 9 episodes in, and we want to just keep doing cool shows for you guys. So
yes, thank you.
We will see you next Monday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.